Hi guys, so I almost expected Nigel Farage to remain silent on this issue. The Afghan people have been abandoned by the coalition forces there, those being the Americans and British, but also the European and Western states that were involved. Now, how stupid of me to think that Farage would not try and profit from this situation, but here we have it. Farage was interviewed on GB News where he once again used his pet project of attacking asylum seekers in order to remain relevant, or just to keep his racist supporters happy. Anyway, let's hear what the windbag had to say about the Afghan crisis.
The Afghan thing links into it, Patrick, very strongly indeed, because you can now see a wave of people leaving Afghanistan, and we already have numbers that we simply can't cope with.
So, once again, he feeds into this narrative, and he used it back in 2016 when it came to Brexit. This horde of people flooding the country in order to, instill fear in his supporters and the general public.
The four-star hotels are booked. They're running out of private accommodation. When we used the Napier barracks in Folkestone, it was good enough for the British Army, but deemed not to be good enough for those that illegally come to this country.
It was not good enough for the British Army because it was dilapidated. It wasn't being used for 20 years. And isn't it funny how Farage laughs about this? Farage knows the truth here. He knows it has been deemed not fit for purpose. But he's lying to his supporters by suggesting that this was good enough for the military. Our soldiers who fight for us, and if it was good enough for them, surely it's good enough for people who are arriving here illegally. This is lying. He's lying to his supporters, and he's lying to the public, trying to convince them that this was perfectly fine. No, it was not. It was dilapidated. The military had not used it for 20 years.
So the Afghan thing is going to play into this in a big way, because most of the young men that come, and let me emphasize, young men that come, because 90% of those that come are young, fit men.
And we have our nodding dog here. No challenge here. No one saying, wait a minute, Nigel, why do you think it's young men that are coming? Because it's young men that were working for the Afghan government, in the military, in government departments, providing services. It's mainly men that work in Afghanistan. Women don't generally work. Now, things have changed. Things have improved. They're probably going to go backwards now because of who's in charge at the moment. There was progress being made, but it's mainly young men that work in jobs in Afghanistan. Now, because of their connection to the government, they're afraid. Many of them, and I've seen pictures, many have been already killed. These people are afraid. I've seen images of them trying to jump on board a plane that was moving. They're desperate. They're desperate to get out of the country because they know they have a target on their back. Simply because they worked for the previous government. Simply because they were part of the military. These are people who had no loyalty to the government. They were doing it because they needed a paycheck. That's why the entire army of 300,000 capitulated so quickly, because they had no loyalty to the government. They were doing it because they needed the money. But they were still seen as enemies of the state for this new administration or this new government. But Farage just wants to convince the public in Britain that this horde of young men coming over here a threat to Britain in some way. These are people that were working, in a sense, for the British and Americans, working as interpreters, working as in auxiliary positions, working as part of the military in parallel with the Americans and British forces there. And now they've been abandoned.
Under the age of 30, coming from all over the world, most of them do not have identity documents. They destroy their identity documents so they can't be sent back everywhere. I'll bet you that every single young man that arrives from now on says he is from Afghanistan. And if some of them genuinely are from Afghanistan, how do we know? How do we know that the Taliban...
Nigel Farage is a horrible individual. Nigel Farage is a disgusting individual. Nigel Farage is perfectly fine. He's not been impacted by this at all. There are people who are desperate. They've been thrown under a bus by principally the Americans, but other states have had a hand in this as well. They've been abandoned, and in such a short time, things have changed, and they're desperate to save their lives. And Farage is talking about, well, we can't be, we can't be too careful, and we don't want to put them up in hotels because that looks bad. He's a disgusting individual.
Or other extremist groups aren't using this route to get their operatives into our country. So I think the Channel crisis and Afghanistan, we're going to see emerging, I think, over the course of the next few months.
Is Nigel Farage some sort of expert? Why is Nigel Farage being interviewed here? What is Nigel Farage's experience? What is his expertise? Why are you interviewing Nigel Farage? And why aren't you actually challenging him? Of course they're not, because he's an employee, but also because they agree with him. They're part of this narrative. There's a horde, a faceless horde arriving in the UK. It doesn't matter if, they used to work with us. We relied on them. That's not important anymore. We closed the door in their face. We've thrown them to the wolves. But that's not important, because we don't want them filling up hotels or filling up army barracks, because it looks bad and it pisses off certain middle-aged racists. That's what it's all about. Making sure that the racists are happy. We don't want to offend them in any way. We don't want them seeing these people around, these people that we have abandoned, basically. We relied on them when we were over there, and now that we've finished, now that we've left, I'm sorry, the door is closed. You can't come in. Once again, I actually believed that Nigel Farage, how stupid of me, but I actually believed that Nigel Farage would not try and profit from this. I didn't think anyone would try and profit from this, because I've seen even Tory MPs saying it's disgusting, it's humiliating, that we have abandoned them, that we've left them behind, that we used them and then threw them away. Tory MPs, now, not the first people you think of when it comes to humanitarianism. But Farage, this is fair game, of course. I hope that the British government still has some humanity and will reach out to these individuals in Afghanistan and fast track any asylum processes. Get them into the country as soon as possible. At least that. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?